Oh, oh, oh my God, Thomas, what happened? How did you end up here? Dogbert? Is that really you? Yes, Thomas, I'm back. Well, you see, Dogbert, you, a bunch of players, and other content creators all left the game. This created a Marvel Strike Force infographic shortage, and people forgot all about their superior cleanliness, softness, and they turned back to toilet paper. Oh, the brutality I have suffered, the tearing of my paper, people just throwing me away. Why? Why can't they have Marvel Strike Force infographics? Don't worry, Thomas. I'm back now. I will re-educate them onto the superiority of using Marvel Strike Force infographics over toilet paper. They are much softer, get you more clean, and better for the environment, and they help save toilet paper here, like Thomas. Do you really want to see Thomas in a bed like this? No. You want to use the superior product, Marvel Strike Force infographics. Clean, safe for the environment. Hello and welcome. I have the plunger on my head, so you know what that means. It's time for Dogbird's toilet paper infographic. That's right, we're coming back with these again. I know this is really shitty content. What are you gonna do? I'm a crappy creator. This is for the Fantastic Four MCU, and yes, there's actually 5 members to this team, even though we only really used the Fantastic 3. So let's go ahead and get into this. Don't forget, the more shits it has, that tells you how many shits you should give about it. Up to 5 shits, which means that's all the shits you want to get. You want that T4. If it has 1 shit or no shit, you don't want to give any shits about it. Even at 1, possibly even at 2, you may not want to give any shits about it. That's the way this thing works here. The more shits, the better the T4. So let's get into all this, and we're gonna start out with Frank here. Yep, character that they just kind of threw in. They could have made a legendary out of him instead and not reworked the original Fantastic Four, but nope, they decided to sell us this one plus two new versions of the Fantastic Four to make the Fantastic 3. Don't make him a legendary grab or anything like that. Nope, this is the way we're going to do it. So the and the ISO on him is Striker. He does hit quite well, and this is mostly because of what his basic can do with the flipping of positive effects on the enemy and flipping of negative effects on yourself into positive effects, and of course on the enemy they flip into negative effects. So you really want to double tap with this as much as possible if you have a vulnerable on it, which is where Striker comes in, as long as they don't have Safeguard, obviously. As for his T4s on his basic, we're going to give 4 shits about this. It's not quite a 5 shit. This is mostly because this will increase the amount of damage he does on the ISO counterattack as well. This actually increases it from 2 to 3, as well as giving it 60% damage to the primary and secondary targets since it hits the adjacent targets as well, and will flip their effects as well. This is why this is such an important T4, but pretty much on Frank here, you're going to go from bottom up as far as T4 priority if you are short on T4s. On to the special. Well, this one only gets 3 shits. This one's really not that great. If he has 2 or more Fantastic Four MCU allies, he will reduce duration of Safeguard by 2 on primary and secondary targets if they actually have it by the time you actually get to this attack. This is more for longer drawn out fights, not so much for the arena. By the time you get to this, there's probably not going to be any Safeguard, or there really shouldn't be at this point in time. But we can also see what else comes in the future. What this does also give 80% damage to the primary and secondary targets. Nice to get that. Again, this isn't the adjacent targets. And this does copy all positive effects from the primary and adjacent targets to himself, minus taunt, stealth, and regeneration. They had to put that in there. So essentially, you can get defense up, speed up, and offense up. As far as buffs you can steal, you can't do safeguard. So, not the highest priority there. Next up is the ultimate. This is what you're going to be using turn 1, and it gets 5 shits, all the shits. This is definitely a T4 you want to get. The big thing here is it gives 50% damage to all enemies, which you're going to be hitting a lot. But the thing that makes it a 5 shit one is it clears all charge. So if an enemy has charged, you want to clear that off. That's what makes this T4 so good. The entire ability is really nuts. It reads like a freaking book. In Arena, he gets that battlefield effect. He's putting silence out in there, which is just a regular debuff, don't forget. It can be dispelled unless, of course, there is trauma. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this as well. And finally, the best one of them all, that also gets all the shits. It would get 5 shits, it would get 6 shits, it would get 10 shits if we could give it to it. And that is the passive. This is a must. This goes beyond 5 shits. This is like 100 shits. This thing is nuts with this T4. On with the T4, it gives 5% speed plus Fantastic Four allies gain 5% speed. If this character has 2 or more Fantastic Four MCU allies, he gets an additional 45% speed for self and all Fantastic Four allies. In Arena, if he has 2 or more Fantastic Four MCU allies, all other allies gain an additional 50% speed. This is what makes him so crazy. This is definitely a T4 you need to get first, so it goes passive, ultimate, I would say the basic, then the special, almost top to bottom, as far as Franklin is going to go. One thing I forgot to mention before I go any further, when I'm talking about the Fantastic Three, the new Invisible Woman, Frankie here, and, Dajin, Dajarn, whatever his name is in The Mandalorian, I forget. When we talk about them, I'm talking about them as using only the Fantastic Three. I will also talk about the other 2 characters when you're using the entire team or even a 4-piece. That could be a thing. So just keep that in mind. So some of the ISOs would change with that scenario. Just wanted to get that out there. Okay, up next, we wipe and find the new Invisible Woman, because God forbid we just rework the old one. No, but this one's going to be a raider. If you look at her kit, it's mostly because she does a lot of AoE attack, especially on her first attack, which will be the ultimate as well. And she does assist. So there is a, not really an assist, it's kind of she hits people based on what your other characters are doing, based on using their special and ultimates. So that's why she's a raider. We want to make her crit more and hit harder with those crits. She does have that in her passive where you get a 100% crit chance while she is stealth and 25% crit damage as well. So as far as her T4 is the basic, it only gets 2 shits. It's not that great. It's 50% piercing at least to primary and secondary targets. It does hit those adjacent targets, and it does apply to bleed. The problem with this, if you're getting down to the basic, the fight's gone on way too long. The fight should be over by the time you're using this basic. This shouldn't really matter. Maybe this has a little bit more value if you're using her in Dark Dimension or the Charlie Brown saga, whatever. Her special also gets 2 shits. By the time you get around to her second turn in Arena, the fight should be close to over. And this one is just not that good. Instead of applying trauma for 1 turn, it applies it for 2 turns, and it's only 25% piercing of the primary and secondary targets. Again, adjacent hit. That's how she hits. This is not a whole lot of damage. This does not make a big of a difference. We're only going to give it 2 shits. As for her ultimate, that will get 4 shits. You can actually run without it, so it's only going to get 4 shits. But it is nice to apply defense down for 2 turns, and you get 100% more damage to all enemies. This can hit pretty hard with her, that's for sure. Plus, she does like a Magneto type thing where she pulls them all together, clears all the positive effects, that unless they're safeguard, obviously. So that's why this one gets the 4 shits. And her passive, believe it or not, I'm giving 4 shits. Yes, you might look at it and go, well, it's only 5% piercing. until you realize that 75% piercing every time a Fantastic Four ally uses a special or ultimate. Guess what you're doing with Frankie? Guess what you're doing with Djinn? You're using their special and ultimate, so this is actually quite a bit of damage you want to get out there and constantly use. If you're using a 4 or 5 PC, this is even more, because that way, if she were using a full team, she'd be constantly doing this, because you're probably going to use the special and ultimate abilities 1, 2 right away. So let's keep that in mind. And now, I know you've been waiting for this. I know it's been a while. It's time for the turd of the team. Yes, the turd of the team, the first character you want to replace. We all remember all these turds. We remember Phantom X. We remember Scarlet Witch. Oh, God, all the turds. Absorbing Man, he was a turd. We had so many turds. I can't even remember them all. Let's move on to the turd of the team. And this is a rock hard turd. That's right, it's the Thing. Yes, he actually does have the Fantastic Four MCU tag in one of the laziest reworks there ever was. And pretty much it wasn't a rework, it was just here's extra stats, and you get this tag. That's pretty much it. And if you're going to actually run him, it will be an ISO of Striker, because you'd be using the other one who could be a turd, but he's a little bit better, and that would be the Human Torch, and that would be, you'd be using him for assists like that. You'd be using it for the ISO combo. So as far as the Thing goes, this basic, it's just damage. It's really not good. You should be putting T4s in Thing. This is a turd. This is a turd of a T4 as well. To give you an idea what kind of damage we're talking about, it's just a flat 50% damage to primary target. That's a single target. That is not much damage in this day and age. Terrible T4. Not the worst, but terrible. As for his special, that gets 2 turds. This is a little bit better. It's 20% to primary and secondary attacks. He essentially attacks 5 times, so adding 5 times 20, that's quite a bit of damage. You're getting extra out of there, but again, it's Thing, and, well, you don't want to do that. His ultimate, it's another turd. This one gives 60% damage, again, single target, not much. And it's really weird. If the primary target has Safeguard as a minion, he does get 100% crit chance. But the way this team plays, if you had Frankie out there, he should have removed the Safeguard by reducing the how long it was up. And on kill, so if you actually can get a kill with him, you get immunity and speed up to all Fantastic Four allies. This just sucks. I mean, his entire kit really sucks. He sucks. That's why he's the turd of the team. Passive, this one's really bad. This is just an in war passive, giving 50% piercing. You'd have to actually give a shit about war. War is a turd of a mode. We don't play war. We don't give a shit about war. We just kind of do war. Okay, let's move on. All right, let's see what we wipe out next. And that is Pedro Pascal, the Din Djarin himself, the Mandalorian. As far as the Fantastic 3 goes, he's probably the most replaceable of the 3. And we're going to be running ISO Fortifier. His job is to stand there and take hits. Anything we can do to give him more barrier, we're going to do it. And we want him to take more hits and survive longer. He is slow because he is a tank, but he does have a pre-taunt, which is great, at least in Arena, so that we can hopefully have people bash into him. Fortunately, he does normally spawn with Safeguard. Of course, if your opponent has Apocalypse, then he's not going to get his Safeguard, and he will be vulnerable to losing that taunt. So just keep those things in mind. Also, as we look into his kit here. So first up, we have the basic, and this gets 1 shit. We really don't give a shit. It's 90% primary damage to the primary target, and he applies offense down as well, but the T4 says 90% damage. Honestly, if you're getting to the point where you need his basic to do extra damage, something has gone terribly wrong. You probably shouldn't be winning that fight anyway. Again, this is more for longer term fights, maybe. But even then, he just doesn't do much damage. He's not meant to. He is a tank, essentially. His special, sorry about that. We actually give 4 shits about this. Special is actually kind of good. The reason why we like his special, it's 30% damage to primary adjacent targets, whatever. He doesn't do much damage. The big thing is if he has 2 or more Fantastic Four allies, he will reduce the duration of all negative effects on this character and each ally by 2. This is a great way to get rid of, even trauma and get rid of some negative effects off of your team. And he does apply safeguard for 2 turns instead of 1. That can actually be very helpful in the arena. Like I said, where the apocalypse is against you, you don't start out with safeguard. You can get safeguard back by running this. You can stun a target with this special as well. You might want to choose this over using the ultimate turn 1. You might want to do this if you can land a stun on somebody. He does get his taunt back for 2 turns along with this ability. He also gives safeguard and death proof to all your allies. So there's some really good arguments to use this turn 1 compared to using his ultimate turn 1. Speaking of his ultimate, that gets 3 shits. It's 60% damage to all enemies. He rolls with it. He doesn't do a whole lot of damage. The big thing is he'll get safeguard. He will get taunt. He'll get safeguard for 2 turns with this. And he will gain charge. Plus, he will barrier all the characters, all your allies, for 20% of his max health. He does attack based off of health, so this can do a little bit more damage than normal, and it does clear all barrier from enemies as well. This is why you got to think about: do I want to use the special? Do I want to use the ultimate? Depending on the fight. As for his passive, it's okay. It's a 3-shitter again. This means when it has a Fantastic Four MCU or Fantastic Four ally, when they use their special ultimate abilities, he will barrier himself and all allies for 5% of the character's max health. They are pretty much going to be using their ultimate and specials turn 1 and turn 2, in which order doesn't really matter. But this will give your team a little bit more survivability. He also has, when he is charged, he gets 100% block chance, 10% block amount. That's where the ultimate comes in again as well. On spawn, he normally gets safeguard, death proof, and taunt. But like I said, if there's an apocalypse on the other side, you're not going to get that. He does barrier for 15% of the max character's health right away. Don't forget there's usually a 30% barrier limit on characters. So keep that in mind as well when you're looking at doing special and ultimate. But you're pretty much going to be looking at, do I need to stun? Or can I just get my safeguard, get my charge, and be okay and get some barrier or clear barrier as well? And the final character, the Human Torch. Now this one's kind of interesting. I'm actually building him up. I want to test him out because of what he can do right now. And the reason why I want to test him out is basically it comes down to the fact that he always has assist now. He'll always assist a Fantastic Four ally. And because of this is why I've decided to make him a skirmisher. Because he has that assist now, because the other characters do go before him, if you're actually running him, Human Torch, you'd actually want to make the rest of the team all strikers. The reason being that this way, when they go, you'll get a constant triple attack due to the striker skirmisher combo with every single character on this team. So if you're running the full team, you can just run striker on everybody. That would be a lot better to actually get some extra damage out of Human Torch here. I could see running the entire team or a 4-piece team, before you get things like Apocalypse, Stupid Scroll, Santa Claus, stuff like that, Meth Head. I could honestly see that happening in lower level arenas like that. I really want to see if there's a way to plug him in, build him up, and plug him in if he can be used in the arena. Due to that extra damage of getting that assist now constantly and being able to triple tap, it could be very interesting to see how much more damage that would add. Because I know there's times when with these lower level characters, lower star level, right now we have lower stars on the Fantastic 3, if actually having a 4th with that extra damage would make things easier in the arena. But as far as his T4s go, his basic is actually an okay one. It's 70% damage to the primary target, but does add an extra bleed to it if you're actually using this. And again, if he's getting called to assist, the reason why you'd want to do this one, why I gave it 3 shits, this would help increase that damage when he gets called to assist. So we would want that extra damage as much as we can get. His special is actually a 5-shitter. This gives 2 offense up to the team and to himself. He gets 50% damage to the primary target, but the big thing about this that really puts it over the top, he gets an assist from a Fantastic Four ally. So if you use this move, like turn 1 usually, this is his turn 1, you'd get an extra assist out of it. Plus, you'd have, Invisible Woman going off with her passive as well. You could get a triple attack that way as well. Even though he's a skirmisher, you'd get that out of them. So extra damage there as well, which is always great. His ultimate is only a 3-shitter. It's just 60% damage to all enemies, but it is to all enemies. It is unavoidable and can't be countered normally. It does put offense down, heal block, and 2 bleed out as well. And he does clear all barrier if that's an issue as well. And then finally his passive. You don't actually need a T4 on this passive. You get the assist now just on, the 4th level. You don't need to go to the 5th. The passive, all it does here is if he has 2 or more Fantastic Four allies, he prolongs duration of negative effects except for trauma, silence, ability block, and stun. In other words, the ones you really care about. What's that leave? Defense down, offense down, and heal block? Not that great. Definitely not something I would really looking to put T4s into. That pretty much wraps up the Fantastic Four MCU. But like I said, the ICU you see here for the Fantastic 3 are based on just using those 3. If you bring in Human Torch, think about putting Stryker on the rest of them. Keep Torch as a skirmisher. Get those assists now. Get those Stryker skirmisher combos. And I'll see you next time.